Vincent, thank you for returning and taking this journey.
Awesome. Looking forward to week 2.
Absolutely. Mrs. Super Oz, what is the first question for week 2?
What goals did you give up on that just seemed too far-fetched?
I'll let you kick that. I'll let you kick
That's
that.
interesting. So I'm guessing this is broad strokes life, not recently, because depending on whose perspective you are on or looking from, I gave up on pursuing wrestling, but my mom always said that, well, you did it. You pursued the thing that you wanted, because when I say pursue and give up, I mean make it big. And so I didn't do that. But her perspective was always, you sought it, you trained, and you completed it to, some level. I mean, it was only about, I'm going to say 4.5, 5 years in total, but I don't know. And so, that's definitely something I stopped pursuing, if that counts as giving up on a goal. But I've always been able to adjust my creativity into other realms. I mean, it's legitimately why I started writing comics, is because I didn't have the outlet of wrestling to tell the story with. And so, yeah, I mean, I did not expect that at all as far as the study, because when it came to this week's reading, I was like taken aback by just how vile the choices often were from many people. And with that, I spoke to Vincent about how it hit me, but you brought up that this is a story about people, and so if you look at it, people still to this day do bad things.
Yep. Yeah, it's an interesting question considering what we read.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like the goals question, man, I feel like when I was a lot younger, I would have had a lot more answers.
Mm-hmm.
I think with time, sometimes the goals get less.
Sure.
Or at least more realistic, right? Like I think when I was maybe like 6 years old, I would have said professional baseball player.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
was never in the cards, no matter how what I did or what I tried. And so I think as I got older, the goals get more realistic in terms of, I guess, athletic ability in that standpoint. But yeah, it's an interesting question to kind of think about.
Although maybe if we were to think of it in a Jacob and Esau way, now it wasn't an intentional giving up of a goal, but he definitely gave up his birthright, due to manipulation, I would say.
Yeah, and hunger.
Oh, yeah. Well, using that against him, obviously. And so, I don't know. I guess that is a way of looking at it.
Yeah, something that is maybe promised to you or something you assume is going to happen to you. Maybe not promised, but
Yes.
well, the birthright was assumed to be promised.
Yes.
To where, like, you get short-sighted and maybe jump the gun, or I think maybe that's more realistic for like nowadays, right? We can't quite see the way it finishes, so we jump the gun on things and try to fast track something.
It's true, yeah. I literally recently did a survey on YouTube, in YouTube Studio, and it said, are you more or less likely to quit YouTube?
Yeah.
And because I wanted to make the point to YouTube, I said a little bit toward quit.
Yeah.
But I also know myself well enough to know I'll put up with a lot of not succeeding before I quit. So I just wanted to get the point across to I'm considering it, but not anytime soon.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in kind of reading through some of these like prompts in the book, it seemed to be this question seemed to be pushing toward maybe not seeing something completed that you were assuming or wanting or hoping to be completed. So for sure Jacob and Esau, for sure I think it touches on Rachel, but just not seeing something completed that maybe you longed and desired to do. And I think from that standpoint, like that's sometimes frustrating, right? Like something that has been in the works you wanted for so long, or you've dreamt about for so long, or assumed it was going to happen for so long, and it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you don't actually see that to the completion. I think that can be a hard, it's a hard situation to go through. It's a hard life lesson maybe to deal with. It's just a hard thing to sit with, right? Waiting. We're just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting.
Well, I mean, that's a call back to last week with Abraham and Sarah,
for sure.
the waiting and the thinking, oh, well, I guess I'll figure it out. When it's like, you're wrong. Don't be doing it your own way.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things, too, that's interesting maybe in general about like the first two blocks of reading is generation after generation, sins are repeated.
Oh, my, I literally, I struggle with that. One of my notes was, are we just destined to fall into these same patterns? So I don't know how to say this, but yeah, it's one of those things where it hurts to think that's the fact.
Father and son repeat, grandson repeat.
Yeah.
Things are just, almost down to like the exact words and conversations used throughout generations. That's a major theme that you can kind of see developing in the first, now we're at like 45 chapters in Genesis. I don't want to repeat generational sin in that capacity, but I think we're all prone to it. We're watching it play out in early human history, no different than modern human history. Addiction, abuse, all these things that happen where you're like, I'm never gonna do that, and then you get then you get like a front row seat. You're like, oh wow, I don't want to say never because I don't want to like rule something out. But I need to be aware that this may happen and guard against it.
Yeah.
I can't be complacent of, well, I'm just never going to do that.
Yeah.
But I need to guard against it, and I need to have people who are going to help me guard against it, and people who know like this is just a trigger that will check up on me, or they know that this is kind of like the generational sin that's impacted like my family history.
Yeah.
That it's just something that like I'm the same way. Like I just don't want this to turn into something I swore I was never gonna do.
Mrs. Super Oz, what is question 2?
What visions or dreams do you have that you need to pick up and dust off?
Can I say I did not like this question? One, it's hard for me to think about this.
Sure.
Because like I said, a lot of the dreams are just not possible anymore.
Sure.
Right.
Because I was young or immature.
Yeah.
And
Can I say something on your behalf? It might not be a vision or a dream, but it's the way I see you. So when I see my vision of you, if you will, but the way that I see you present yourself and do things, it's in a guiding force. And so if you look at it more as a broad goal and less of a dream or vision, then that's the way I see you, as a guiding force, a person who helps get people on the right path.
Which I would say was probably not a dream I've ever had, but it's a role that I really enjoy. So I'm glad that is how you see me.
No, I know I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I know I'm not alone in that. So
yeah, I think the other thing that bothers me about this question is, and I feel like I'm partially quoting Lion King here, but like the past is like it's just got to stay in the past.
Okay.
So like what could have been and maybe we wanted it to be, now maybe no longer can be, and to dwell on that, I feel like that can be a tendency to miss the present, miss the moment now.
It's true. Yeah.
See what's in front of you versus yearning for the past and not getting it, versus missing something that's right in front of you and actually experiencing the fullness of that. So dwelling on something that like could have or should have been or I wanted to be, to me feels like at least mentally a slippery slope. Like I'm gonna kind of drift back into this mindset and miss something in the present.
So while I understand where you're coming from, because I do creative pursuits, it's much easier for me to say, although I had not until this moment said it out loud, and I'll now got to be held to it, which is funny. But I was already considering it strongly, and it wasn't like I was hiding it anyway. But it's not a dream and it's not a vision, but my plan for my comic superhero universe, and not even just the superheroes, every comic I produce is going to have an element of pointing to the cross. And here's why I say that. When it comes to the known Marvel comics, they have all these make-believe Beyonders and Celestials and quote-unquote gods among them, right? And I always felt like, I was like, alright, I guess, but like, this seems like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the same with DC. While some people do pretend as though Superman's a god, he isn't, he's an alien. They also acknowledge Zeus and what's Hercules' dad's name? That's Zeus, right?
It is.
Okay, so they acknowledge all those pantheon of times
Greek
gone by,
gods.
Poseidon and whatnots.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you're acknowledging a thing that people understand. Okay, fine. But is that, in either case, a world we live in? No, it is not. And so, like I said, that's, again, I won't say a dream or a vision, but it's a plan that I have to be honest in writing. Because to me, what makes things good is to be honest and relatable and understandable. Yeah, no, when it comes to the question of visions and dreams and Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat,
Yeah.
which
Great movie, by the way.
I've never seen it.
Fantastic.
It's such a
It's fantastic.
culturally relevant phrase that I couldn't help but think of it.
I watched it in 5th grade. Our teachers played it like in increments. Like once a week, they would play like 30 minutes or something.
That's cool.
And we went through like the lyrics so you can understand humor and puns and like theatrical wording.
Yeah, that's cool.
Loved it. It's a fantastic movie.
Sweet. No, that's good to know. As you know, I do a lot of movie reviews, so not.
Donny
No.
Osmond too plays Joseph.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, he's the only person that ever comes to mind when I think of that. But like I said, I get why the question comes up because of that part of the story.
Mhm.
But even before we get to his prominence, his place of prominence, he was having, dreams and visions even at a young age.
Yep.
And man, he had to go through it to get to the the place of prominence. And even while there, it's like you literal feast and famine. It's the idea of 7 years of good to
Yeah.
be prepared for 7 years of bad.
Yeah, what's interesting too is like how do you? I guess at the time, right? Like you kind of read of this a little bit in scripture, but it sounds a little crazy what he says, right? Like no one believes
Mm-hmm.
his dreams and visions, yet they come true because it's more prophecy than just a vision, right? It's specific, and a couple times late in the later chapters when he's talking to Pharaoh, when he talks about like basically he says like I don't have the power to do this.
Yes.
God does, and I'm just gonna speak.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
So these dreams and visions, they seem so unbelievable, yet they're true, as if it was happening in real time. So,
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw this meme the other day, which, don't mean nothing, but it was just one of those things where it was like, nobody ever is pursuing a dream that everybody's like, oh yeah, that's perfectly good, common sense, logical. I'm getting it wrong, but it's the idea is like everybody's dream seems far-fetched until you succeed.
Yep.
And now granted, this dream or vision of Joseph isn't his dream. It's in the way that I was speaking, but I was just saying it's the idea that it always seems far-fetched until it's proven to be
Right.
correct. What is question 3?
Number 3. In this story, Rachel had a midwife who tried to encourage her to hold on to her promise. Who do you know who needs encouragement to hold on? How will you help them?
Yeah, so this was the promise of children.
Mm.
Rachel already had Joseph, and then got pregnant again, died in childbirth, but the baby lived. So the promise of building a nation and building a lineage, she actually doesn't get to see because her two children are fairly young and an infant, and she dies in childbirth, which again, it's hard, right? So I'm sure as she is dying, I think she got sick as she's dying, right? The realization comes over that I actually don't get to experience this.
Mm.
And I think in her case, the hope of her case is that she has already been part of the promise. Like her husband and father-in-law and grandfather-in-law, I guess, have already been part of the promise of this nation and bulls and all these things. And who knows, as you're dying, right? Like if you actually believe that or not. But I would think that she had people around her who were proving this, like, hey, this already happened, you're just part of it, and it's going to continue long after you go.
Well,
So that's the backstory.
absolutely. And no, I think that so many times, whether it be Rachel or, other figures, the idea that God keeps his promise is clearly demonstrated.
Very clear.
Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long. Available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more, but most importantly, the story itself. Even when it comes to the idea of sacrificing Isaac, and let's be real, not sacrificing Isaac, but the idea that God wants to see that you're willing to go all the way, and even not making it so you have to by making another way. I thought that was very powerful, poignant, very well. And here's the other crazy thing about that story, that tale, is Isaac understood they didn't have anything on this journey to sacrifice. And I thought in both ways Abraham was to represent God's willingness to sacrifice his son, and also Isaac's knowledge that they had nothing else to sacrifice was a clear call forward to Jesus knowing what had to be done for, man to be made a way for.
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a powerful, painful point forward, but it was definitely one of those things where it's like, this is important to get the point across.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that this was the one kind of call out of all the chapters.
Yeah, that is a good.
Yeah,
given how many
Yeah.
things occurred throughout the stories, whether it be, like I said, the opening of do this and then no, you don't have to, which is great.
Yeah,
Because
it's crazy to think that was the first chapter of this block.
yes, and yet it hasn't come up in question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's so monumental.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of other moments where it was like, oh man, this is big.
Yeah.
There's some verses that talk about when Jacob and Esau reunite.
Oh my goodness.
Terrified that he's going to get killed,
Yeah.
rightfully so. Because he has the army coming, and he's got his family and all of his possessions on one side, and here comes Esau and the army, and he knows.
I love that though.
The drama is
Yeah.
just so heightened.
Yes.
Because,
Visualize it so
right,
well.
it's just one of those things where, on Jacob's side, you could only see this going one way, and you have no clue that it's actually going the complete opposite way. So on his side, he has no hope.
Yes.
Right? He's actually divided his his family and his people up in case one gets attacked, the other can be freed.
Yes.
He has no hope. But Esau, who is not part of this like promise, not part of God's promise at all in terms of like the lineage of the Israelites.
Right.
He is part of a promise in some way, but not specifically this way. Like he has such a radical heart change
Mm-hmm.
where he is now offering total forgiveness, total restoration, and probably total relief for Jacob
Absolutely.
to not like.
Well, and
be killed.
that's the beautiful thing about so many of these human stories is they point to the spiritual realm.
Yep.
And with that, it just shows how that there is hope.
There's hope in all things because God is in control of all things and has already kind of paved the way when we can't even imagine how this is going. Everything has already been done, right? So Jacob meets Esau, he's terrified, but God has already. We don't even know. It doesn't even say like what.
But he
was
had
done.
to have softened his heart.
Right. Something was
Conceptually,
done.
yeah.
Yes, for sure. Something
Now,
was done.
I don't, again, it doesn't say that, but it feels like
A logical inference would be.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that over time, whatever the grudge was there dissipated, and without even Jacob knowing it, right? Jacob didn't know that this was going to be a friendly, brotherly meeting.
Right. Well, and it's crazy to me that Jacob was gone for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess a lot can change in that amount of time. But then again, people can hold grudges for a long time too, so it's literally like 50-50.
Right.
And the negative 58 one you want to gamble with.
Yeah. Can you read the second part of that question again?
Yeah. Who do you know who needs encouragement to hold on? How you help them?
That's a good question. I would say in general, we all do. We all need encouragement. We all need to be reminded of hope. We all need to be reminded of that even kind of the darkest days are not the darkest, and even the brightest days are probably not the brightest.
Right.
And there's hope in all things, even when we don't see it, because we see things so dimly.
Yes.
There's hope in all things, and there's hope in all situations. Like, I mean, I think of like relationships that I know that need to be mended, that I don't know how they're going to be mended. There's hope in that. You know, fast forward to the New Testament, because the resurrection happens. Even the most final thing, death,
Yes.
actually is not final because Jesus proved he can overcome it.
Yes.
So if he can do that, there's hope in all things. So I liked that second part of the question. There was a lot to kind of think about.
When it asks, you know, who can you be there for? Who can you? It's like the answer is nearly endless because
Correct.
regardless of, you can always find the need for, being there for people.
What's really hard is telling the person, hey, don't worry, there's hope. Because so often I can feel myself being like, and how do you know?
Well, I'll say this on a personal level. It doesn't. I have to believe that God knows the right
Amen.
answer.
Yep.
And with that,
It sure does.
no matter how much I want for things to have gone differently, I have to believe that it was the correct answer.
Yes. And there's purpose for something.
Well, and think about it this way. We always say, oh, they had all their life ahead of them. What if all their life ahead of them wasn't
I know.
good?
Yeah.
And as much as I want to believe that things would be good, could be good, or I don't know.
Yeah.
And so you have, and it ain't easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but you have to.
Agreed.
You have to be willing to know that you don't know.
Yep. Which is, well, I mean, well said. Very hard. Very challenging to get to that point. And when we sit with this, hope and non-hope kind of tug of war, it feels a lot of times that the no hope side is winning. 99.9% of the time, and then there's a flash of hope, and it changes things radically.
Right.
And you're like, okay, I can do this. I can persevere through this hardship.
Yes.
Like, it's not totally done, and because God is always in control and has already known what's happened, is not surprised by anything. There's hope in all things because He sees everything in full, and we see things just in like a minuscule amount. And we go back to the crucifixion and the resurrection. The most innocent person who's ever lived, the most perfect person who's ever lived, chose to die and was brutally murdered. And for the better part of 3 days, it was hopeless because everyone watched Jesus die.
Right.
They had him walking around with him for 3.5 years, and then he died. And then nothing. It was quiet for a full 24 hours Saturday. And all of a sudden, Easter morning, resurrection morning, Jesus walks out of the grave, and everyone's amazed. They still couldn't believe it. He had to let them touch his wounds to actually prove it.
Can I say something I find very, I don't know, amusing more than anything else? So I was listening to some people talk, right? I mean, the person asked I don't know what his role is. We're going to say scholar. He could be a preacher. He could be just somebody knowledgeable. He's like, oh, why do you believe the resurrection? And he said, well, one thing is, if you're going to make up a story, you aren't going to say women are the first person, the people to see him, because nobody's going to take them at their word. And it's at that time, exactly. That's what I mean. And it's the idea, and it's before, it's during, and it's after. But it's all these things where it's like all of the pieces are important. Like I said, even just some. I don't remember who I heard say this, but it's the idea is like, of course, the Old Testament doesn't completely lay out how it's going to play out, because you don't want to give, you don't want to tell the enemy the game plan type thing, right? But when it all plays out and it all makes sense, it's like, oh, of course that's how it goes. Right. So that goes back to the idea of trusting in the unknown.
Yep.
Like, yeah, we don't know the answer, but we have to know that God does.
Yep. Amen. Yep.
What's the fourth question?
There's only 3.
Oh, there's only 3.
Well, I'll ask one. Other than what was brought up in the questions, what stood out? I mean, we already kind of talked about.
Like I said, what stood out to me was the
revolting sin.
The concept of different levels of sin permeating the world, whether it be, like I said, lies, manipulation. There are even words that I'm not sure I'm capable of saying for the channel, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah. And yet, because of it being so standout, is what makes it stand out that it really doesn't stand out at all.
It doesn't, exactly.
It's like, yeah, it stands out when you're reading it. It stands out when you're hearing it and understanding it. But then when you take a step back and you realize,
people are people.
and it's not a matter of 2,000 years ago,
right,
or 2 years ago, or 10 years ago. It's like it's yesterday, it's today, it's tomorrow.
Right.
That's why when you said last week that it's actually more surprising that God hasn't said, yeah, I give up.
Yeah.
Not give up, but start over.
Start over, yeah.
In other times, it's like, you're right. It really could have been a more regular occurrence.
Yep. Yeah. I think, that's one of the, obviously the big standouts is these crazy accounts of terrible things. And I think one thing in general, right, it's always, is the Bible prescriptive or descriptive? Is it prescribing something or describing something? Most of a lot of what we read in the second chapter is a lot of description.
Mm-hmm.
It just, this is how things were.
Yes.
And not saying that because it's in the Bible, God is condoning it.
Right.
God does not say it's okay to have multiple wives. Like for Jacob to have 2 wives and 3 other like
I know.
mothers of his children.
Correct. Yes.
It's not saying that's how it should be done.
Yeah. Right.
That's just saying that's how it was. And I mean,
Well,
Jacob.
and the fact is that there are a number of both men and women nowadays who
Right.
will make that happen. Well, maybe not necessarily the wife / husband part, but I'm sure there are places where that happens.
And it's always a reminder that are we any different now than they were back then? We're not better, certainly not. Just because we have the whole story at our hands doesn't mean that we are somehow we have this moral high ground
Right.
of the people living. It's different time frame, a lot of the same stuff.
Well, let me ask you this. How would it be if our stories were being recounted? Maybe not you and I personally, but generations back and
Yep.
generations back and even generations ahead. We don't know. It's like
Right.
I guarantee that even today, if again you and I or others were getting all of their dirty laundry aired out, it wouldn't be all roses.
Right.
Like it's gonna be.
Nasty and dirty and
Yeah.
and I think that's a good point. That's a great point, because all of us have a problem called sin.
Yes.
No matter how you grew up or what church you go to, or if you even go to church, or if you never stepped foot in, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I am no different. I fortunately had parents who took me to church, prioritized it, but I'm no different than the person who's never set foot inside a church or has never picked up a Bible.
It's funny. So, you went since when? Like forever?
Since I was a baby.
Yeah, since you were a baby.
Yeah.
I didn't start going regularly until I could drive myself. So I can remember going to church maybe twice when I was young. But almost all of the rest of my life until I could drive myself, it was not prioritized.
Yeah.
We got hay to bale, we got cows to feed, we got chickens to slaughter, we got other things to do.
Right.
And I actually was, I won't say cast out, but my residence was not guaranteed when my choices were made to prioritize going to church over doing
Things for survival.
yeah, exactly. Which is, don't get me wrong, survival is
Yep.
important.
Yep.
And I understand that, but I quickly felt that this was also very important.
Right.
Maybe definitely not day one, but within a few months of attending, I was like, oh, this is
Right.
relevant. This is moving. This is changing the trajectory of life.
Yep.
And it's always been puzzling to me, the idea that it's like that choice, that moment, that decision was what led to me inevitably enlisting in the Army and finding a new home because I had to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think nothing.
But my point is, it didn't matter that I didn't grow up in the church and you did. We still need
Right.
Christ either which way you go about it.
There's the gospel of Jesus, the good news of Jesus is the only thing that fully restores and fully heals and fully gives hope and takes care of all the problems that we have and all the problems that we don't even know we have. There's the real hope is the gospel of Jesus, and it takes care of all the problems, and it covers all the sin, and it pays the penalty and sustains life now and for eternity, and it's beautiful. And in Genesis, we're getting a glimmer of it. Right?
Absolutely.
We're getting a glimmer of the rescue plan
Yes.
that's already been put into place from the beginning.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Get some. I don't know if surprise is the right word, but I find it interesting when people think that they're disconnected.
Yeah.
So, because it feels very connected.
Right. For sure. Well said.
So, I appreciate you joining us once again for this journey, and without you, we'd still be doing it, but it wouldn't be
Yeah.
the same. And so,
This is
thank you.
cool.
I appreciate
Love
you.
it. Thanks, man.